I've definitely met people that, ironically, like your store, are much younger than you would expect, especially from what they post on social. Like high talent, high taste. I think those are the ones that, man, getting into really using, especially AI tools and all the leverage that they give you around writing code and all that this early are, I think, probably set up to be absolutely lethal as like a person to bring value to companies and teams in the next 5 or 10 years, especially. Will AI mean that there is now the potential of like a one-person, $1 billion company in the future or something like that? And it's like, maybe. I mean, like, there's already companies before all this AI hype that are a small handful of people. And I've come to this realization, not to generalize, that, you know, at least in the US, our education system is usually quite behind the trends, quite behind the edge of where the industry's at.
Corey, thank you so much for joining me. For anyone who's watching, if you don't know who Corey is, I'm just going to give Corey a second here to introduce himself.
What's up, y'all? Stoked to be here. I'm Corey Moen. How do I position myself these days? I don't know. I think just like brand designer, web developer. I'm based in Des Moines, Iowa. Just I don't know, Midwest dad, a couple kids. I worked at Webflow for about 5 years, and then this past fall made the transition over to working on the brand team at Anthropic. And so I think just especially Julian, all the content on the MemberStack channel recently around just like what's happening in our industry and all that is just, for me, obviously very relevant and exciting, but also terrifying in some ways if I'm real. And I think, yeah, beyond that, I'm just like forever a passionate nerd about this industry in general. I think I got into it way back in like high school and all that 20 some years ago around like video games and getting into, you know, oh my gosh, how do we make these things that I enjoy playing and using so much? And then that somehow led into graphic design and then web design and then even now more development and getting into code and all that. And grateful that we have tools like Webflow and Claude or whatever to help us do those things. So yeah, man, stoked to be here and to chat.
I was actually just about to ask how you got started. Something I've noticed in the entire, I guess, Webflow ecosystem as a whole, everyone usually has a pretty cool story for how they got started in the first place. I'm going to try to keep mine super short, but basically I was making like designs and like skins for Roblox when I was like, I really started to get into it, dude. People are still playing Roblox. I can't believe that. I'm pretty young, by the way. I don't know if you knew, but I'm 24. So
I did not know that.
Yeah, nobody knows.
Awesome.
Dude,
Yeah.
If you look at my forehead, I don't know if you can see it on camera. I'm a 24-year-old with wrinkles, but like started out with Roblox, dude. And I was like, all right, I gotta start, you know, thinking about like jobs and stuff, things I want to do in the future. And I really just wanted to be able to live where I want. And so I'm like, it has to be something online. I like design. What should I do? And I got into graphic design originally. Funny story, dig into too much, is I was like the lead graphic designer at a prison in California. There were a bunch of rappers, like just rappers that made music, and I did cover art for artists. That was like the first thing I did for money on the internet. And I connected to this guy who was like serving life in prison. He was a rapper. And somehow the word got around, and I had like 5 clients that were in prison. I don't think I've ever said that on camera before, but
this is so awesome. I love that.
That's how I started originally. And then I'm like, okay, you know, I was making like $20 for like cover art for a song, right? I'm okay, I want to make, you know, like $300 for a website. Started making websites, very basic. One thing led to another, got into UX design and all the other stuff I've explained on camera like a billion times. But yeah, man, I was the lead graphic designer at a prison when I was 13.
So cool, 13. Oh my gosh. I think it says so much about, again, passion and just like genuine interest and also like vulnerability, willing to just try, which I think maybe is ironically a great even tie into what the world we're living in today of even just like, you have to be a little open and vulnerable to just like try to use these latest tools and all that. And like, also I love the point even in your first job or early jobs, like I said, for me, I found I was big into gaming and all that. Like I literally in high school thought I was gonna maybe be a professional gamer. Like original Xbox Halo 2 was like my game. Like I played Xbox Live till for like 8 hours a day. It was absurd. But then I ended up finding these like classes in school called computer graphics that were actually just learning like Photoshop, Illustrator, InDesign, and like with like tutorial books and all that. And like my moment of like, oh, I really enjoy this was just like the classes would like blip by. Like I'd like get into it and an hour would be gone in like 5 minutes. And long story short, then I was like, oh, maybe I'll just do this and you know, go to college or whatever. And then what's funny, even in the first job thing, is like my first job kind of, I guess, in the industry. I started as an intern and then ended up working there full time for like 2 years, was a industrial pump company in the same in the same city where my college was. It was IDEX Corporation was like the bigger corporation, and then Viking Pump was one of their own pump companies that I actually worked out of the office of. And like, dude, nuts. Like, because especially in this day and age, when you've done this for long enough, you end up working on projects that you see out in the wild, you're like proud or excited, right? And like my first moment of that was I live in Iowa, so again, we don't have oceans or anything, but we have rivers. I grew up, on these like water skiing and these crappy little ski boats that my family had, and we were on the river, and there was this big cruiser that was like, filling up with gas at the gas stock. And also people that live in boats, just like if you have a camper or whatever, you have to use the facilities in the boat and then pump all of that out. And the pump on the gas stock that was being used to do just that, pump poop out of a boat, was one of the brands that I worked on like at that job. And I was like, oh my gosh, like I know that brand. I did the website or the brochures. It's like so funny. But I mean, when I was an intern there, my day-to-day was like 8 hours a day formatting data sheets for these pumps. So think about like you buy an appliance, a microwave, whatever, and it comes with like black and white paper booklet. No one reads all the technical specs and all that kind of stuff. I literally had to format those and then do it in like 10 some languages. Like that was the first time I learned that like Arabic is written right to left instead of left to right and stuff like that. And it was like so tedious, but look, I learned so much in the monotony of that, and then just following skills and passions beyond it. So I'm such a fan of these like stories and like how people got into it, because it says a lot too. Like if it was something that maybe was exciting or not, but you stuck with it and it was just the entry level, right? Like, I don't know, super interesting.
And going from working on like, it's so true, just working on random things, and then when you see them in public, like my first job as well, it was at some agency in Toronto. I was 15. They had no idea I was 15. Very
I mean, you pull off the older age look for sure.
Dude, I was super skinny back then, and it made my face look older. So picture this: it was a contract job. My last day, they're like, "Julie, you want to come out for drinks with us? It's your last day and stuff." I'm like, "Oh no, I can't." And I'm just working, and they're like, "Oh, what? You're too good for us?" I'm like, "No, I can't." They're like, "You don't drink?" I'm like, "Well, I do, but I can't go out for drinks, No. And the age of whatever it's called in Canada is 19. So they're like, 15. I'm like, no. They're like, you're 17? No. And then I was like, I'm 15. They didn't believe me. I took out my like learner's permit, driver's license. They passed it around. My boss is sitting across from me. They're like, Brian, why'd you hire a 15-year-old? He's like, I didn't know. It's illegal to ask in Canada, at least.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
But I relate to what you said, because I was working on like, it was this basically like kiosk UI for like educating people about this like credit union's products.
Right.
And I just thought it was like the coolest thing in the world. I was working like a couple like grandmas walking into a bank are going to see. And I just thought it was the most amazing thing. And looking back, that was such, at least in my career, like such a nice time. It was so innocent and fun to just really go from like working on random stuff to things that real large companies are actually using. Something
totally
that brings up a question in my mind is like, hey dude, so when we were juniors, the path made sense. It's like, okay, you get a design internship, get a little bit better, you become a junior designer and all this stuff. How would that even look now? Like, how do you think it would look for someone starting their career in design in 2026?
Oh my goodness. I think my brain goes two different ways that are like of potential that are maybe good and bad. I think one is and I have utmost respect for the education system and people that work in it, to be clear. I think though the observation I've had from knowing people that work directly, they are teachers or in education, or like I've also done some like simple like presentations for like design students at colleges around here a couple times, and I've come to this realization, not to generalize, that at least in the US, our education system is usually quite behind the trends, quite behind the edge of where the industry's at. Just to paint an example, is like most of the students I've met in the last couple of years, or teachers that are anywhere adjacent to design, they don't teach or know Figma at all. Like Photoshop, Illustrator, maybe Sketch if you're lucky. And so I think, even your reaction is like anybody that is working in agencies or especially tech or any of that, like in any adjacent design role, is at least aware of or every day uses something like Figma as like the latest tool for especially digital design. But it's really going beyond that. I know so many people that are doing like brand work that even a couple years ago, like my really good buddy Seth runs a brand studio. He's just an epic designer, and like a few years ago I showed him Figma and he was a little apprehensive, but now he uses it for everything, including illustration and all that. So anyways, I think there's that side that I think those kids getting into it now are maybe they're missing a massive opportunity to learn some of these latest tools like Figma, but also again like AI and how those tools can be used. But then I think the other side of this is the kids that not necessarily that they might still be going the traditional education route and discovered on their own, but there's also those that just don't and see what's happening on social media, what people are talking about, are really in tune with all the latest things that are being posted on the web. Like I've definitely met people in the Webflow community that ironically, like your story, are much younger than you would expect, especially from what they post on social, like high talent, high taste. You would never expect that they're like under 20 and they're like running their own studio and shipping like pretty solid brands and sites, right? And so like I think those are the ones that, man, getting into really using especially AI tools and all the leverage that they give you around writing code and all that this early are I think probably set up to be absolutely lethal as like a person to bring value to companies and teams in the next 5 or 10 years, especially, right? Because like not to go like too quickly and deep down the whole like what's AI doom gloom or what the next few years are going to look like, but I guess my general position at this moment in time, which the industry's moving so fast, I feel like and most of our perspectives on it probably changes every month or less. But I think it's still ultimately a tool, and like while yes, there's maybe some jobs that are at risk of replacement or whatever, I think there's still always going to be this world where like the people that really are using it to its fullest and capabilities and staying up on what's possible are the ones that are going to be creating things we can't even imagine maybe in 5 or 10 years. Or like you've maybe seen on socials the like murmurs of, will AI mean that there is now the potential of like a one-person $1 billion company in the future or something like that? And it's like, maybe. I mean, like there's already companies before all this AI hype that are a small handful of people. Like one that I was convinced, I think, is Craigslist, right? Isn't it like 10 people or something at this point? But it's like hundreds of millions of dollars in value. But again, it's like scrappy still and like not polished UI and all that, but that's just them, And so like all this to say, I think there's a massive opportunity. Even just my own children, to be clear, 7 and 3, so very young, but like my 7-year-old, his name's Otto, he is already so like we try to be cautious about how much iPad time or whatever, but like you can tell how quickly he picks up stuff, even just using an iPad at school or sometimes at home. And then like because of my gaming history I mentioned earlier, like I am already really suckered into like playing Nintendo Switch or games video games with him, and he picks things up so quick. And so, oh yes, let's go for sure. And then so I've started to tease Claude, like just in moments where it's like we have a question, we're not sure an answer, and like simple things like that. There's been a couple moments of like we can't decide what to book to read at bedtime, and I'm like, like, what if Claude just, makes up a book for us? Let's see how that goes. And he's like a little both like, no, that's not a thing. And then at the same time, when it happens, he's just like, you can tell again, like, wow, okay, interesting. And so I don't know, man. I by no means is the type that my wife and I very much try to lead out of this position of like, let them discover, and if they ask or are interested, we will provide, but we don't want to ever force feed like, you're going to use Claude every day until you're, building apps at age 9. No. But like, if he gets into it, sure. Like, I don't know. So anyways, way long-winded. It's just, I think there's so much potential ahead in all of this. I think the biggest risk, if I can close the question out, is even just like, will us as adults and teachers and governments and communities actually be able to meet the moment to help guide the youth in all of this? You know what I mean? Like, because I don't think we can even make sense of it. So how can we make sense of it for the next generation? I don't know. Deep.
We can't. And that is why, like you said, these school systems, it's a system. It's a large system with a lot of people, and it's very high stakes what you're teaching children. And so I understand why they lag behind, but naturally they do lag behind. So I was born in 2001. That means I grew up in a world where like I learned the alphabet on a computer. I learned how to do everything that I do today for work. And I'm like, I can Google anything. I can go on YouTube and get any information that I want. I dropped out of high school, and for me, it's a great decision. Not that I recommend people to do that. Depends on you. I don't
100%.
I don't recommend it. But at this point in time, looking and saying, these kids that are growing up today have access to a personalized tutor to give them any information that they want at any point in time. Like you said, that can really go, one of two ways. And I think for parents, it is not an easy thing to navigate. Also with the screen time, my wife and I were talking about this yesterday.
Totally.
Trying to figure out like what's the balance and all that. So it's difficult not to talk too much about parenting. Yeah. No idea how this actually have kids. I'd love to talk to Corey specifically about parenting in an AI world.
Yeah. Next episode.